How do you consistently reach the inbox and accelerate your email open rates? How do you do something deeper than just spam filters, email technology, and strategy? Some of those things fall on marketers, right? I mean, we have to be using the right technology, setting things up with the right settings like DKIM and SPF, and having the right email server technology and having the right solutions in place. Some of those things fall into having the right message and exciting subject lines and, content that gets past the spam filters. It doesn't say the word free in it and things like that. Having the right list management to remove to suppress the unengaged, get rid of people who don't open or click things within a year or 6 months or something like that. And, and obviously removing complaints and spam people who click the spam button as well. Some of it falls on the customer end of things. I mean, consumers should be responsible for opening their emails regularly so that we can track that. Adding you to their address book or adding you to a mail filter or just not clicking the spam button. But what if I told you could do all of those things and it still wouldn't make a huge difference? How can you become a bigger priority? Because really that's what it's all about, right? I mean, maximum eyeballs just means that you're not top level priority in that person's life. See, unless you can create a sort of cult like following or a religious type following like Apple users, there's really no way that you can do anything more than these technology solutions and having great content. But what if you had great content, great copy, and an amazing content strategy and all the technology together? So let's just kind of dive into some of these things here. Are your customers Apple, you know, Apple obsessed? I mean, take a look at these pictures here. You can see people that are just unbelievably crazy to wait insane amount of hours. You can see their facial expressions when they actually do finally get that coveted device. You can see how the Apple team members greet them on the way out the door, giving the old hand slaps there. That's the kind of thing that you want to create for your customers. You want them to be so in love with everything you produce that naturally that's the reaction when an email hits the inbox. So the first thing is that you should probably know that Bob Marley didn't invent Rastafarians and the Beatles didn't invent teenagers. The bottom line is that your audience is already out there, and you don't need to change. I mean, maybe you're a super organized person like the center photo there. Maybe you're the type of person that's just a really, really, chaotic things everywhere kind of guy. Maybe you have a really, strong aversion to public speaking. Maybe you're amazing at public speaking. At the end of the day, there's an audience out there that's looking for your personality, your content, your material, and they're already out there. You don't have to invent them. You don't have to, you don't have to create something that doesn't yet exist. They're already there waiting for someone like you to break out into the scene and produce this stuff. So what do you need? First of all, in creating this, sort of cult-like following, you have to have some central beliefs. Maybe your audience is a no-gluten food type audience. Maybe your audience refuses to drive Fords and loves to, talk about Chevy or Honda or something else instead. Perhaps they believe in taking massive action. They're Tony Robbins type fans. Maybe they don't like PCs and they prefer Mac. The other thing is they have central stories. In order to create that sort of religious type experience, or in order to create that crazy following, you have to have a story. Now, Bombardier is a really classic example. It's a Canadian company that first invented the Skidoo. Not many people know that the first snowmobile was actually invented by Joseph Armand because his 2-year-old child passed away because the family couldn't reach a hospital in time, and there was no such thing as a snowmobile at the time. Perhaps your central story is like Tom's shoes, where every pair of shoes you buys another person a pair of shoes. Perhaps it's an invented story like Apple's Here's to the Crazy One, the Misfits, the Rebels, the Troublemakers, the Round Pigs in the Square Holes, who see things differently. So the other thing is that each group has these, sort of rituals that they follow. Maybe it's they upgrade their phone every year and they're an Apple fanatic. Maybe they take a yearly pilgrimage to the Nestle factory because they love chocolate. Maybe they listen to motivational tapes in their car and they're obsessed with self improvement and that sort of thing. Maybe they also always have common experiences, like maybe they're a car person and they the emotional experience is the first time driving the car or the first new Apple device and that smell they have. Maybe it's the newfound energy from eating the right foods and they're a health fanatic. Maybe it's overcoming a fear, like in Toastmasters. But there's emotional experiences tied to the brand and tied to your actual the experience of buying products, the experience of being in this particular tribe, as Seth Godin calls them. Regardless, they also usually have common ethics. So the common ethics might be that you only paint in John Deere green, or that you believe that you should never smash an Apple device. Maybe they believe you should always wave at a VW bus driver. I know that in high school, my high school teacher had a VW bus, and the interesting thing was every single time we passed someone else in one, they had to wave at each other, and it was this sort of unwritten code of ethics. They also have sacred words. And now I know nerds like to say, BSOD, which means blue screen of death. Lululemon brand has all kinds of its own language to it as well. In fact, Lulu Angels is the name given to people who shop at an outlet store for somebody online who can't make it to an outlet store. But your audience has this language to it. They have this built in. They already exist. All you have to do is go and learn more about them, figure out who your actual audience is for your product, and once you figured that out, you can put together these pieces. You can figure out what their common ethics, their emotional experiences that you want them to have or that they're already having, related around your products. So maybe they're, cooking fanatics, or, maybe they're, beer drinkers or IT specialists or marketers or gardeners or 4x4 enthusiasts, whoever they are. Number one, identify that group. Figure out who the people who buy your stuff are. If you have to, go on to Amazon, read related product reviews. Figure out when it says people who bought this also bought, and figure out who they are. Figure out what else they buy. Figure out who they aspire to be. Figure out what kind of stories they want to hear. Number two, find your sacred story around your products or your brand and tie it to a why. That why can be a business why, can be a financial why, a health why, it could be a cause, like feed the children or, stop the spread of cancer or whatever it is. But find that why that's going to motivate your audience and inspire them. Number three, find your sacred words and emotions. Right now, these sacred words, they're not, really, really crazy and far-fetched. In fact, your audience is already going to know what their sacred words are. So, I mean, even people on a ski hill have a common language. Truck drivers have a common language. So, number four, inspire them and lead them somewhere with your products, services, and cause. So, what I mean by inspire them is you take all these different bits and pieces, the beliefs, the central stories, the rituals, emotional experiences, common ethics, and sacred words. You take all these pieces and you jam them together and you create that welcome email to joining your list. Welcome to the fill in the blank family. Welcome to the cooking fanatics family. Welcome to the beer drinkers family. Welcome to our family, so to speak. And then once you've welcomed them, explain what the common ethics are. Use some of the language that they're already going to know because they're part of that audience. Explain some of the, emotional stories. And once you tell that emotional story, like, a 2-year-old once died and, it was a really snowy, crazy storm going on and we couldn't get to a hospital. That's why we created this. So you'll never have that experience because we've got this technology now that can get us to the hospital. Tell the story of why your product has that. Inspire them and show them how their life is going to change now that they're your service. The last thing I wanted to share with you is an emotional brand story that will actually show you a real-world example of this. You see, Blake Mycoskie is the founder of One for One Tom's Shoes. And one day Blake Mycoskie was in an airport, I believe it was in New York, And he was, boarding a flight and just, in an offhanded comment, just jokingly, I guess, said to this woman, "Nice shoes." Now she instantly went, "Thanks, they're Tom's." Well, he knew they were Tom's. He's the founder of the company. However, just nonchalantly, he just kind of nodded his head slightly and kept walking. Now that wasn't enough for her. So she chased after him. And as soon as she started chasing after him, she grabs him by the collar, spins him around and says, "No, you don't understand. These are Tom's shoes. 1 for 1. That means because I bought these shoes, somebody else out there has a pair of shoes." And, it's one of these things where at that point in time, she bought the story. She's now officially somebody who's a member of Tom's Shoes Club. Now, tying all this back to the very beginning, when she signed up to that first opt-in form, naturally, in this case, obviously, she would have bought the shoes in a store, but in your business, if she had come to your first opt-in page, if she had found that story that connected her to the why, and she found, and she, embodied that story, and she believed it, now she's a part of that group, and she's become a part of your club or your tribe, and now she's indoctrinated. She's a full-blown, card-carrying, flag-waving fan, and so that is the ultimate goal for all of our customers. I hope you found this helpful.